The Heisman opened up its voting last Monday, which is a mistake and one that they could easily correct, which means that you've had people that did not watch football games this weekend that cast their votes during the week. And I think those people should no longer have votes. However, I think that we're all going to agree on who might be 5 finalists. I don't know if they're going to bring 5, but we're going to do a top 5 for me. We're going to go start at number 5. We're going to go to 1. At number 5, I have Marvin Harrison Jr., who I think is a worthy Heisman finalist and could win the Heisman Trophy, be the first wide receiver to do that since Devontae Smith, who was the first wide receiver to do that since Desmond Howard. But you're looking at what Marvin Harrison did over the season. We're talking about not just 67 catches with 1,200 yards, 14 TDs, averaging 18 yards per catch, but the best Ohio State Buckeye on a loaded Ohio State Buckeye team. And at times, the offense for Ohio State, to which I would say, hey, look, I know that Ohio State lost to Michigan, but that wasn't because of Marvin Harrison Jr. That dude had 119 yards receiving against what is one of the best scoring defenses. No, the best scoring defense in the entire country. They held Iowa to a goose egg who couldn't move the football. Now, Iowa ain't nobody offensively, but you get my point here. Nobody was going to shackle Marvin Harrison Jr. He is one of the 5 best players in our sport. And to be a wide receiver, a dependent position, not an independent position, and be able to say that is ridiculous, especially knowing he don't return kicks, he don't return punts. He simply lines up on the numbers and beats the dudes or 2 dudes or 3 dudes in front of him for catches. All right, I also want that dude could also be a 2-time unanimous All-American. Hello? What? 2 times? Unanimous? Man, being an All-American, being a consensus, that's one thing. Unanimous and then twice? Good Lord. All right, number 4, I got Oregon Ducks quarterback Bo Nix, who had one of the most efficient seasons that I've ever seen from any quarterback ever. 4,100 yards passing, 40 TDs to just 3 INTs, 77% completion percentage. I don't care if you're running Ryan Day's dink and dump with Dwayne Haskins. Completing 77% of your passes is a ridiculous number against the kind of competition that you're going to face in the Pac-12. Now, it certainly hurts his chances that they lost that game to Washington, okay? But it does not overshadow what he was able to do in his final year of playing college football. And he might actually walk into a first-round draft pick because, well, the quarterback play in the NFL is not very good. And nobody knows who's going to be good and why they're going to be good. And Bo Nix has played more college football games than anybody else. So you can't say that he's inexperienced as a quarterback. So maybe he falls in 2nd or 3rd or 4th round, but I still think he's one of the 4 best players in our sport this year and a worthy recipient of the Heisman Trophy if he did go win it. But right now, certainly a finalist. Number 3 on the list for me, Michael Penix Jr., Washington Huskies quarterback, had 4,200 yards passing this year, 33 TDs to 9 INTs. It's more about what Michael Penix Jr. has done over the last 2 years, really. I mean, talking about 23-2 over these last 2 years, comeback player of the year last year, 11 wins last year, threw for more yards, by the way, last year. But that dude has been pivotal to winning at Washington. And Washington played in what I think is the toughest conference in the sport this year because of what Oregon and Utah proved to be capable of, to say nothing of what Oregon State was. Arizona turns out to be, for me, a top 15 team, winning 9 games. We saw what Colorado was like in the first half of the season. Michael Penix Jr. and Washington probably dodged a bullet not playing Colorado early in the year, but certainly when you look at the rest of their schedule, it's like, damn, everybody they played is good. Even Boise State, check this out. Boise State was nobody until they won the Mountain West Conference Championship on Saturday against the 9-win UNLV team. They're 8-5, but you get the point here. Washington beat that Boise State team 56-19, and then went on to stomp out the better teams in the Pac-12. They're very much there because of what Michael Penix Jr. has been, what Ryan Grubb has been, certainly what Kalen DeBoer has been. I think that dude's got a really great chance to win the Heisman Trophy when it comes down to it, simply for what Washington has accomplished this year and last, and what he has meant to the best team west of the Mississippi. All right, let's get to number 2. I got Jayden Daniels at number 2, LSU quarterback. Now, Jayden Daniels has had a season unlike anybody else has had. We had one game where Jayden Daniels was responsible for 600 yards of damn offense himself. For perspective, Texas put up 662 as a team against Oklahoma State. Jayden Daniels was like, nah, dog, that's just Saturday for me, because he's had over 3,800 yards passing with 40 TDs to just 4 INTs. He's also rushed for 1,134 yards with 10 TDs. He's got 50 total TDs. The numbers that he's putting up are comparable and in some ways better than the numbers that Joe Burrow put up when he won the Heisman Trophy. However, winning matters. And if you are not playing the full season, I also think that takes into account. Now, part of that is Jayden Daniels getting knocked out of games because that offensive line is, well, if Colorado had the worst offensive line in Power 5 football, then LSU had the second worst offensive line in Power 5 football, because that dude was getting ragdolled. You got to protect the goods, baby. Like that, and that man is the goods. In his final year as a college football player, I would assume, right? Also kind of wild to me that both Bo Nix, Jayden Daniels are on this list after a couple of years ago. They didn't look like anything like this. And to say nothing, Spencer Rattler's also going to go into the draft, and all those guys came into the sport together. And I've kind of watched them grow up, and it's been fun. But Jayden Daniels coming into his own at LSU was not something that I expected to see. But he's had the same sort of maturation that Joe Burrow had playing for Ed Orgeron at LSU, where that 18-year, he looked so to good. You know, you go play against UCF in a bowl game, comes back, runs the table. Jayden Daniels looks so to good, comes back, and puts together one of the great individual seasons that we've seen in the sport in recent memory. But losing football games usually has bearing on what the Heisman voters will do, right? If you want to tell me that Jayden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner, I'm not going to fight you. I think he is worthy of it. I think that the stats are there, and I think he's given us the wow moments that we needed. I would just say he didn't get to play in most of the second half against Alabama, which was the most pivotal game on their schedule, because nobody thinks that Florida State is good except Florida State fans, apparently, right? Because that also, has to take it into account. So I got him at 2, which also means my number 1 is the guy that I've been telling you I think is going to win the Heisman Trophy if he beats Georgia, and that is Jalen Milroe, quarterback at Alabama. Look here. It's about what have you meant to winning, and what have you meant to winning at the highest level, and there has been no higher level than Georgia. Georgia was operating on a level that we had not seen in some time in our sport. 29 straight against everybody that they had to offer. 2 national championships, okay? Jalen Milroe showed up to the SEC title game with an Alabama team that is far from being the best that Nick Saban has fielded. He also got benched earlier in this year for Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson. He got off the bench and proceeded to march Alabama into the SEC title game, knock off number 1 and undefeated Georgia, and then vault an Alabama team over a 13-0 Florida State team into the college football playoff. And they are a smart pick to win the national championship, in large part because 4 is big in winning time. There was winning time against Auburn. Again, you shouldn't have been in winning time against Auburn, but the point here is the same. There was winning time against Auburn. 4th and 31, the gravedigger play. That man stood back there and found Isaiah Bond in the back of the end zone. What I love about this is Milroe was loud about, hey, look, we practiced this. We go through this. We rep this. This was not something that we pulled out of the sandlot. We knew where we wanted to go with the football. We knew what we were going to have matched up, and I put it in a place where Isaiah Bond could go make a play. That's 1. 2 is you're absolutely up against it against Georgia in the 4th quarter. It's 20-17, and it does not feel like 3 points is going to help you. You got to go get 6, because if you give this ball back to Georgia, they're going to tie this thing up, or worse, they're going to take the lead. So what does Tommy Rees and Nick Saban do? In the first half, they put it in Jalen Milroe's hands. They say, hey, look, Kirby's going to call a timeout. Let's see what they look like. Okay, cool. Let's call a timeout. And then Jalen, go make a play. Who do you make a play with? The best wide receiver on that team for him, Isaiah Bond. Hit him on a deep out, kept the chains moving, got into the end zone. You take a lead in the halftime. Georgia claws back. You're in the fourth quarter. You're going, okay, what do we got here? We got Jace McClellan, who ain't played in the SEC title game, and we got Roydell Williams and Jan Miller. What do we want to do? Who's our best option to run the football? The quarterback. Jalen Milroe, running out the clock, going to get first down, sitting down inbounds, getting back up, finding Isaiah Bond in these go-ahead touchdown situations where you have to hit him 4 times. And then you got a Jermaine Burton who's just there, happens to be playing against a team that he could not wait to play. Milroe did all of that. And to a man inside of that building, they will run through a wall for the dude wearing 4 at quarterback. Matter of fact, J.C. Latham went so far as to say, hey, we got to know exactly what Jalen was capable of, even going into camp, and there's a reason why he was a starter. But to see how he led us from the sideline against South Florida, that was why we wanted to go play for him and win for him. And you know what? Nick Saban, smart man that he is, he read the room. Tommy Rees, smart play caller that he is, let me build a play sheet that takes advantage of what my guy does well, which is stand back there in the pocket for far too long and then run around. 226 pass yards, 82 rush yards is the average he had over the last 4 games, 14 total TDs to just 1 turnover. If we're talking about the player that was most important to winning the most important games, we're talking about Jalen Milroe. I think any one of these 5 guys, though, is more than capable of winning the Heisman Trophy and would be worthy of winning the Heisman Trophy this year. If it is Jayden, I'm fine with that. If it's any one of these guys, I'm fine with that. But my pick is Jalen Milroe, who, by the way, was this close to going to Texas. Texas, you're in a college football playoff and you ended up all right. But I can't imagine what it would be like if, you didn't have to see Alabama across there because you actually had Jalen Milroe on campus. But you could thank Mike Yurcich for that. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.